Recently, USA Today had a poll for the best new ride for 2024, and Snoopy Soapbox Race, you know the ordeal. But how can we make it different for the new ride in 2025 at Kings Island? Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because, well, that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Yeah, let's kick this off by welcoming our Prestige members. Thank you guys so much. Aaron Bork, 330T, Logan Lipper, Brian Hauser, Lil Mac, 21, Miss Mandy, 1983, Jacob Fix, Damon Barnes, and Stephen Hornack. Thank you guys for supporting Tower Topics at the highest tier. That's the Prestige tier. There's 3 different tiers. You can find out more information in the link in the description. If you want to support Tower Topics, hit that link. Members get early access to the content, exclusive content, members only live streams. Those are coming up, I promise. And some tiers, you can get some free stuff. So,
Yeah,
another day, another poll.
Yeah, Ryan, in 2025, this year, Kings Island Soak City Water Park, they're going to debut a first of its kind thrills and chills with the addition of RiverRacers. That's all one word, RiverRacers, the first and only tool racing water coaster in Ohio. And also 7 new kids water slides in the Riverside themed kids play area, Splash River Junction. So a lot going on out in Soak City Water Park at Kings Island, and it'll all open up Memorial Day weekend, we hope.
Is it scheduled for Memorial Day weekend? Is that official?
Well, that's when Soak City Water Park always opens, is Memorial Day weekend. So we hope it opens with that.
Well, the one thing that they needed more than a water coaster or a water slide of this type is more seating, and they're going to get hundreds of new lounge chairs within the new area with seating options to both in the sun and the shade. So that's really cool. But what we're going to talk about,
right? You talked about the the new lounge chairs, and that when Kings Island was opening Tropical Plunge in 2012, that was a big deal. This gigantic new wave pool, and part of it was all these new lounge chairs that were coming in. So we shot video of all these chairs being, delivered by the trucks and the aquatics team, placing them out in Soak City Water Park. And that got just so much engagement. So many people were more excited about that, the increased seating, than they were the wave pool. People love that. So this is not something to sleep on, they're getting new lounge. No, that's a big deal. And that's going to be, something that's going to make a lot of guests very happy that there's going to be more seating around Soak City Water Park.
Go to the average person, go to the average pass holder. They're the ones who go to the water park. Ask them what Soak City needs. What does Soak City need most? They're not smart marks, as I call them. They're not going to say a water coaster. They're not going to say a water slide. They're not going to say a third wave pool. They're going to say there's nowhere to sit. So if there's really hundreds more, which I mean, I assume there's going to be more of an area for this, I suppose. Because my only thought is that if they're replacing hundreds, it's kind of like not a net gain. But there might be, they said it's a new area, so there's probably going to be more surface area with more seats. But that'll be hugely beneficial if they can seat, 200-300 more people. That's going to be fantastic. Now, we'll be way deep into the water park. So the perception is going to be when you walk in that you can't find a place to sit. But heck, it's over by the new water side, so you got that going for you right now. So you've opened you did a couple of water park things. So you did Tropical Plunge.
Plunge. I did Tidal Wave Bay.
Right.
I did some other like refurbishment type things. New restaurant with the Island Smokehouse. Added new chairs. Splash River. Just that kind of being transformed into being refurbished there. There's a lot of things at the water park that I had the opportunity to tell those stories as things were unfolding.
I remember, it's funny because this Island Smokehouse will always be. It's not. I've always said the transformative moment in Kings Island Culinary was Red's Hall of Fame Grill, because that was when I was like, because you had a media day for that.
Oh yeah,
and I remember trying all the food, and I was like, "There's no way. Is this real life?" Like that kid that had his molars taken out. But that was the first time it was like a quick service, and it was like, boy, they have smoked wings. These are so good. And, that kind of stuff. I mean, it wasn't without fault, of course, but that was the first time they really had that. And then, they opened Coney Barbecue a few
Well, the
years later.
success of the Island Smokehouse is, what inspired, hey, we need this in the hard park.
Yeah.
This works so well out here, we got to put it out there. So, I mean, there's been a lot of things out in the water park, and a lot of times it flies under the radar because everything is focused on what's happening, in the main park, whether it's a new ride, a new show, or maybe it's a special event, Grand Carnival, whatever it is, the focus is kind of there. You hear about Soak City Memorial Day weekend, that it's now opening, or you don't hear about it again until Labor Day, that, oh, last chance, last splash of summer, come do it. And that's the only time you hear about it. But there's a lot of stories out there that can be told throughout the summer to keep it top of mind that, Kings Island has this water park, and it's included with your park admission, so there's so much added value there by having Soak City at Kings Island.
So the reason why we bring this up is huge opportunity for Kings Island. Now, I said at the top of the show, USA Today did another poll. Yes, I understand the polls don't matter unless you win, but Snoopy Soapbox Racers finished 10th. So it did place. There was like 20 or so entries. But the real kind of slap in the face is that Good Gravy finished first. It's a very similar, as far as the hardware is concerned, it's a very similar experience.
Mm-hmm.
The holistic experience is way different. But, and you and I were discussing this, and it was kind of like, what could they do different? And a lot of the conversation came around that Good Gravy, or Holiday World, at least as a whole, really worked toward this the entire season. It's
top
not
of mind all year long.
It's not so much like in June, it's like, hey, there's this USA Today top 10 poll coming out in November. We got to win it. It was more like you do the right things consistently, and then it's top of mind anyway. And then when these things come out, they fall into place. So can you just start off as far as like going throughout the season? Like, how would you keep it top of mind?
Yeah, well, I had a friend that, they asked me, they said, how can Snoopy Soapbox Racers, finish a distant 10th there, and Good Gravy won? I mean, they're the same ride. How'd that happen? And I just said, well, for Holiday World, they had everybody in the country, talking about Good Gravy. It was on all these national shows, and they kept it front and center all year long. You kept seeing stories about Good Gravy, whether it was, the national news media was doing something, or they were doing something even on their own blog. It was everywhere all the time. Good Gravy. You knew about this ride. Conversely, Kings Island, you hardly heard about Snoopy Soapbox Racers. Not much about it during the construction phase at all. They had that one day where they brought some of their influencer group out to look at it. Then it was delayed opening. They had an opening day for it, something real quick, local media in the morning. Didn't really get it outside the backyard. And then nothing else about it again, the rest of the summer. I mean, it's open. It's on. If you went to the web, the website, the homepage, there's a picture of it. And it was just get your silver pass, now open is Camp Snoopy or Snoopy Soapbox. And that's really the extent of the promotion for this ride. So it was disappointing to see it finish 10th because, I think it should have done better, but you got this new opportunity now.
Yeah.
A new water park attraction. Anytime during my years working there that there was something new in the water park that was of interest, that got high engagement, that sold season passes. Sometimes, a lot of times, the water park, new capital out there, or in the kids area, that sold more season passes for the next year, new season passes, with families and that, than a new roller coaster did. So that's, if you're Kings Island, that's kind of where your bread and butter is, families, the kids area, the water park. And you got to take advantage of that when those opportunities are there. And you've got one right now with, this new water slide. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. It's, they call it record breaking. I mean, you can spin that any way you want. I wrote a blog, published it on Theme Parks by Don when it was announced, that I thought, kind of came up short when you're putting in a new water coaster and you've got another park. Here's Holiday World again, 3 hours away, and they've got not one, not two, but three water coasters that are among the best in the world. You know, they're 1,700 feet long, and here's one that's just a little over 500 feet. So it's still going to be good, though. You know, it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be new. There's a lot to get excited about with it, but you have this, and you got to start building that excitement. You know, right from the beginning. It's great you had a billboard in front of the park with a rendering. You know, again, a season pass message with it, but this is what's new. But you got to start telling those stories. You know, have we seen the construction update? You know, since this was announced, no, they have not done any stories about construction. You got different things out there. You've got the kids area, and you've got this new water coaster. You know, so you need to be showing that now, not wait until May or June to start pushing it out there. Do it now. Start building the interest, building the excitement. Tell people why they want to buy, and if it's going to be promoted, buy that silver pass. You know, the gold pass is the better value, but uh, the silver pass gets you till Labor Day. That's as long as the water park is open. But you want to tell those stories, get people excited. You know, here's why you want to buy your pass. Here's why you can't miss this. Build that fear of missing out, and just keep showing the progress. You know, people are interested in that. Show the chairs coming in. You know, being unloaded from the truck. Show the aquatics team placing them around the new kids play area. You know, this is all leading up. This is the pre-launch. Just do a lot of things like that. Do some stories on your blog. Don't just do one blog and then add a new little, you know, 3 sentences, you know, updates kind of thing on it. You know, really do some storytelling. You know, what this ride is, why you can't miss it, how it complements the other attractions in Soak City. There's so many ways that you can play it. You got to do that. And then you get to where you're ready to open it. And one of the fun things to do would be like with your local media, because it's a racing water coaster. You know, Cincinnati's like local 12. I'll just use them as an example. You got a guy like Bob Herzog in the morning. He's always up for fun kind of things. The weather guy, John Glum, you know, you bring those two out and you let them race against each other, you know, for morning hits. You maybe bring out, if you know, reach out to maybe the Reds or FC Cincinnati, you know, bring out some people like that and let, you know, a couple of the players, you know, race each other just to have some fun, get some awareness, let them put it on their channels too. So you want to do things like that before you open it to the public. You know, get everybody excited about it. You know, if you get, like I said, a couple of local reporters on it, racing each other, it's a lot of fun. Makes for great content for the TV stations. We did that with Tropical Plunge. Had them all get into the water slides, and it just made for, you know, a great features. People were talking about it. People were excited about the new water attraction. People were afraid, you know, about the floor dropping out on Tropical Plunge. I don't want to do that. That seems scary. But after they saw it on TV and how much fun the reporters had, oh, we got to come out and do this. You know, so I think it's the same kind of thing here. You know, where you want to get a lot of people out before it opens, not after it opens, but, you know,
Right.
a few days before. You know, it's going to be ready. They're doing their training and everything. So, you know, have people come out, make a big deal out of it. And then when it opens, do the testimonials, you know, throughout the season. Don't script it. People can tell if you scripted it. You know, make it genuine, make it authentic. Just ask people when they get off the slide, you know, what did you think? How much fun was it? And then put those testimonials out there. Put them on your Facebook, YouTube. You know, put it on X. Put it on, you know, Facebook Reels. Just let other people tell your audience how good, how much fun they had doing that. Don't just slap out a picture of it or a quick video of it and say, buy your silver pass. Third-party endorsement is the best thing you can have when you have a new attraction. You know, so much stronger than, you know, the park itself said. You want that third-party endorsement. Anytime you can get that, you know, that's going to generate a lot more excitement, more fear of missing out, having other people tell your audience how much fun they had doing it.
Okay, so let's progress on. So we're talking about end of May, beginning of June. The water slide opens. You got some testimonials. You got people saying like, "Oh, this is so fun! I love racing my brother and my sister."
And don't forget about the families talking about, you know, the kids area. You know, how much fun the kids are having there.
Yeah, and then but the prerequisite, of course, is hey, they're unloading hundreds of new lounge chairs, which will be both in the sun and the shade. By the way, Kings Island opens. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. So it gets to be end of June, early July. what's the battle plan then to keep it in front of people?
You keep going with those different testimonials. You kind of find ways to talk about the water park as a whole. You do that on your own channels, your blog. You integrate that on your social media. You have some influencers. You invite them out. Ask them to do a story, not just on the new water coaster or the kids area. You want them to kind of do a whole Soak City package, write everything about it in their story, including, the food, everything that Soak City has to offer. And you want them to, again, that third party endorsement. So you want them to talk about, and as part of that, they'll highlight on new this year at Soak City is RiverRacers, and they'll detail what it is and how much fun they had on it. But you need those influencers, and you need a steady stream of those influencers in June, July, and August, talking about that. And you take those blogs that they publish, or if they do something on YouTube, you bring out the YouTubers too, you integrate that on your channels, so everyone sees it's not just the audience of those that you're bringing out are seeing it. It's integrated into your channels as well. And again, it's a third party endorsement. It's easy to do. You just find the right influencers that, the family bloggers are good because you got the family stuff now out there at Soak City as well. But you got to find a way to keep it out there. There's got to be, at least 2 things every week. That's not you pushing it out there, saying buy a silver pass. This is new this year. You have to have, and whether that's a news crew coming out doing a story about Soak City and the new additions, or if it's an influencer doing it, there has to be a minimum of 2 every week that's getting you outside of the backyard. So these influencers, you want to invite them from Louisville, you want to invite them from Lexington, you want to invite them from Indianapolis, you want to invite them from, Tennessee. You want to have them from all over the region coming to Kings Island to talk about why families should make it a point to visit this park this summer.
Okay. So let's progress on. So you do that over the summer. Obviously, the end part writes its own name. Last splash of summer to ride the River Racer water slide, blah, blah, blah. Water park's closed. It's going into September. How do you keep it in front of people then?
Well, at that point, you're doing like kind of a recap about it. How the experience kind of delivered, what you were hoping for. You talk about new season passes going on sale. You still include that as part of what you get in 2026 is you get the immensely popular new water coaster, as part of your season pass. So you keep putting it out there. There's different ways to do that throughout. The other thing about it, and this is throughout the whole, campaign, like right now, you want to be saying one of the most highly anticipated new water attractions in the country. You can say that in your social post.
Right, because who's going to fact check that?
Keep building it up. One of the most anticipated new water attractions in the country is RiverRacers. And then you describe what the experience is. And you describe that it's at Soak City Water Park, which is included free with park admission to Kings Island. And the best way to experience it is with a silver pass or gold pass. So you kind of, you don't lead with gold pass, you end with gold pass and silver pass. You end with that. You don't start with the sales message. You start by telling everyone how it's one of the most anticipated. If you go back and you could find the different posts about Mystic Timbers, and you could go back to when it was announced and during the construction phase, you could see where many of them said one of the most anticipated new roller coasters for 2017 is Mystic Timbers. So everybody starts to anticipate because they keep reading and hearing it's one of the most anticipated out there. So seeing is believing, right? Or reading is believing. So they start to buy into the hype. They get excited about it. This is pretty good. They tell their friends, hey, did you hear Kings Island's getting one of these water coasters? It's going to be one of the best in the country. So next thing you know, people are planning a visit because it's, that they've heard it's one of the best. But you do that all summer long. And, you get into July and you say, RiverRacers, one of the most anticipated new water attractions. You don't want to call it a water coaster in this point. You want to say water attractions. So you kind of cover the full spectrum of it. And then you just, talk about how it's now open. Then you have the testimonials, the rave reviews about it. And then by the time you get to end of October, November, and then you start seeing those USA Today polls for best new water attractions for 2025, best new attractions overall for 2025. Because so many people were talking about it, you're going to be nominated, and then when it's out there and people have a chance to vote, you got to keep that in front of people too. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can have homepage presence on your website. Anyone that goes to your website on the homepage, they get a pop-up, cast your vote for RiverRacers, nominated for the USA Today 10 best, water attractions for 2025, or 10 best new attractions for 2025. So depending on whatever, it can be in multiple categories. You could be a multiple time winner, or be at least win. If you don't win, you could at least place or show in those different categories. And that's very marketable. If you come in and say that it finished third, there's nothing wrong with finishing third.
Right.
But how hard is it to do a pop-up on your website, to let people know they can vote?
Well, there's also the app too. Like I remember you did something with the app where it's like, hey, we've been I think it was for Haunt. We've been nominated for this. Click here to vote, and you can take them directly to it too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you can do it through. Yeah, definitely want to use your mobile app for that. You want to make a blog post about it. That's where you do the storytelling again about, how this ride, was new this year. It was a guest favorite. It gave X number of rides this year. Cast your vote. And that's
Cool.
how you do those kind of things. And it's unfortunate they did not do that with Snoopy Soapbox Racers. It opened, a little bit of news coverage. You had one day in the middle of summer where the Reds came out and rode it, but that was it. So you want to keep it top of mind. And that's why Good Gravy won, because that park did a phenomenal job of marketing and promoting Good Gravy. They were excited about this new attraction. And if they're excited about it, they get everyone else excited about it. No one's going to be excited about Snoopy Soapbox Racers if it doesn't appear the park is excited about it.
Right. So, okay, but let me just go through it for the sake of diligence. So Snoopy Soapbox Racers finished 10th. Number 9 was SpongeBob's Crazy Carnival Ride at Circus Circus in Las Vegas, which is a dark ride. Number 8 was Whispering Pines Haunted Hotel at Funtown Splashtown USA in Saco, Maine. I've never heard of that park. 7 was
enough people did. What number? Where did it finish? 7th, you said?
It finished 8th.
Oh, 8th. Okay, so enough people knew about it to get it in 8th place.
Catapult Falls in SeaWorld San Antonio was 7. Bobcat.
You and I had that park on the Attractions Group podcast to talk about that.
We did. Number 6 is Bobcat at Six Flags Great Adventure in Queensbury, New York. You're very familiar with that one. You enjoyed that ride. Number 5, the Dolly Parton Experience at Dollywood. So this is a museum that placed 5th, essentially. Not to play it down. I haven't been there yet, but
that's amazing.
Everybody loves Dolly Parton. Number 4, Iron Menace. Now, Iron Menace is probably the most disappointing one because it's essentially the biggest ride on this list. And it's handicapped a little bit from being in Dorney Park, which is a smaller park. No disrespect, of course. But anyway, Penguin Trek, number 3 at SeaWorld Orlando. Fire in the Hole was 2. The new Fire in the Hole in Branson, Missouri at Silver Dollar City. And then number 1 was Good Gravy.
Right.
So, Don, we're going to get the comments exploded with people saying, no one cares about this. It doesn't matter. It's not true voting. It is not true voting. This is not a representation of how good these rides are or how popular these rides are. It is a marketing gimmick. But why don't you tell them why it is important and why the parks actually strive for these things?
Well, like you said, it's something that you can use for marketing. You can say Holiday World next year will be able to say Holiday World is home to Good Gravy, voted the best new attraction in 2024 by USA Today readers. So that's strong. That's something that very marketable, and it grabs people's attention.
Yeah, it's like you get that with the golden tickets a lot, and when I try to describe this to people, but it seems like the people that know about that stuff, they're like, "Oh, you buy golden tickets, you don't earn them. You buy them by getting ad space." And
no, you don't. It's actually voted on. I was a voter. I know what the process is, and it is not something that, because you bought a couple of ads in USA or in Amusement Today that you're going to get nominated or you're going to win the vote. It doesn't work that way. You have a vote. The difference between USA Today and Golden Tickets, one of the differences is USA Today, you can vote multiple times.
Mhm.
You can vote every day during the whole campaign. That's up to the park to get people excited and aware that you have this going on every day, encouraging them, reminding them to vote every day. This is where partnerships with different communities matters. If you have a
Mhm.
good relationship with the season pass group, you have a good relationship with KI Central, you have a good relationship with us, we're helping put that out there for you, and then you rise in the rankings. I mean, you're not going to do it alone just with your own website. You have to have outside help with that. And other parks that fare very well in these, they do have that going for them. They have their ambassadors who help do that. Now the Gold Ticket Awards, there's one vote, that's all you get with that, and it's not really fan based as much. I mean, there are fans that do vote. Some of the coaster enthusiasts do vote, but
Mhm.
there's also a lot of journalists. You know, have a lot of votes. Um, Suppliers, manufacturers. I mean, they all have votes.
Right.
With that. So the industry people, there's different. I mean, there's just a lot that there's a lot of real credible, credentialed people that are voting with the Golden Ticket Awards who take it very seriously. It's like voting for the Hall of Fame for baseball. They take that ballot serious. I mean, I spent 4 or 5 days poring over it, making sure that I felt good about who I was going to vote for in all these different categories. That I didn't you know vote just because I like that park. If something
Mhm.
was better, I wanted it to be. I was going to vote who I felt was not my favorite, but who was the best. And there's a lot of people that are like me, and that's what they do with the Golden Ticket Awards. Is they agonize over it. They spend several days. Gosh, it's down to this for the best new ride. I mean, which one is it really? And you could vote for almost any of the nominees and not be wrong in
Mhm.
a lot of ways. But it's that's really the difference is that you have a lot more. You get one shot at it, and you spend a lot of time if you're a voter agonizing over it. Where the USA Today, you just got to remember to vote every day. For whatever park is maybe your home park. But I mean, it's worth doing because everybody knows who USA Today is. You put that out on a billboard in your park. Everybody in the park goes, "Oh, USA Today, they won. Okay, wow, this ride must be pretty good. Let's go ride it."
Legacy Media, they've got they've got credibility right now. Let's go with that. Yeah, it's I almost think USA Today probably means more than golden tickets, but even when I was getting involved with the industry, the golden ticket thing, you kind of pick up on what that is by the name alone. So I think that, I mean, Kings Island for years, kids, we've won the best
Yeah,
kids area for, they won it for like what 12 years straight or something like that. And then they stopped winning it. And now it's like
yeah.
the award winning. And it just doesn't mean the same when it's just, oh, the award winning. When it's like the 2025 Golden Ticket Award winner for best kids area, that I feel like that hits different, you
Well,
know?
that's another thing we're going to have to do a episode on later on down the road when the park opens is the kids area.
Hmm.
It started falling. It was number one for so long,
Yeah.
and then it dropped to number two, and then this year with new capital, Camp Snoopy Soapbox Racers, it fell to number three. Why did it fall to three? Well, there's an awareness issue out there. That's the thing. There's a relationship issue that's out there. You can say whatever you want if you're the park. It is those two things. It is awareness wasn't there for your new capital, and number two, that there's a relationship issue that people are casting votes. You know, for whatever reason, they're not with you anymore. They were for a long time, but now they're not. And how do you get them back? And it's not just let's invite some people out for a construction tour. That's not going to help you. Or let's have a media day. That's not going to help you. There's a lot more to it.
Hmm.
When I was there, some of the things I was doing with the kids area, it didn't show up always in the traditional, news media stories and that, but I kept it front and center with the people that I needed to keep it front and center with. And it won every year that I was there in the PR role. When I wasn't in the PR role anymore, it did not win, anymore. So that's something that you have to look at that. And you have to say, why did it win when he was here doing this job? Why didn't it win when this guy's doing the job? And it comes down again to creating awareness, relationships. You don't always create awareness by just having the local news come out and do something in the morning. You create awareness by keeping it top of mind with everybody in a variety of ways. Now, I'm not going to share what those ways were, how I did that. There's value in that. So that was just something that I knew what I had to do to make that happen, to keep that in front, for the park, to keep that award winning. I knew that meant everything to the general manager at the time, Greg Scheid. It was one of my things in my every year. We did my review on what my goals for the year were. It was maintain the Golden Ticket Award for Planet Snoopy. And if I didn't deliver on that, that was going to be, a black mark against me, because that mattered to the general manager, that park held that. He was proud of that. So were the associates in Planet Snoopy. So you've got the same opportunity here out in Soak City, to kind of, let people know that you've got this new water coaster. Get people excited about that water coaster. Keep it in front of people all year long. And, at the end of the year, if you do the right things, you cultivate relationships, you might just be able to put something on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, so it starts organically. Like we said, it starts with just doing the right things that you should be doing anyway. And then the pieces kind of fall together. It's like the money will roll right in kind of situation,
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not, like I said, it's just, when I talk about relationships, it's not just sending someone an email or, talking to, I mean, there's a lot of involved with all of that. And it takes time, to build that. And you can't play favorites, because word travels. Maybe somebody that you want to dump on, and you don't want them to be part of it with you. Well, maybe one of their best friends is somebody that you're working with. Well, now they don't want to help you because now you've alienated their friend. So it's just a lot of things like that. But the bottom line though is, for the guest, the park might not win anything, but the guests are going to win, because they've got this new water coaster that's going to be a lot of fun. And for families with young children, they've got this new play area that's going to be spectacular. So for the guest, it's a win for them. It might not be a win for the park, when it comes to these awards, but it's definitely going to be a win for those that do go to the water park.
Do you, I mean, we've discussed this before, but I imagine not everybody listens to every episode, but
you also got to be a competitor too. I mean, I was competitive. I looked at these things as an opportunity to compete against other parks in the country. So you got to look at it that way too. If you're a competitor, you want to win. Sure. You're not always going to win, but you at least want to show up for it, and try. If you're a competitor, that's all you can do. And those kind of things drive people, being competitive and trying to. And I knew that if Planet Snoopy won the Golden Ticket Award, I knew that was good for the park. I knew if we got Halloween Haunt, named as the best Halloween event in the country by USA Today, I knew that was going to help the park, that it was going to add credibility to the event, if it was a winning event. And it did, so for me as a competitor, I felt good about that. I could go outside the front gate and see that billboard where it said voted #1 by USA Today, and that made you just feel good, and it made the people that worked at the park, that they were scare actors, and the decor team, that meant something to them too. So that's why I did what I did when I was there.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's the big thing for me that you need to get that, well, not you as in Don, but you as in general is, we understand this is not like a tight presidential election. That's not what we're getting at. The point is, if you can say you're the best, that's extraordinarily marketable.
Mm-hmm.
Marketable means that you can get more people to come. More people come, you get better investment. That's why we get frustrated about these sort of things. You know, if Kings Island kind of flatlines, it doesn't make the company excited, especially now that it can get lost in the mix of a lot of other parks.
Oh,
Now
too
that
many
the
parks,
merger
yeah.
comes through. So Kings Island really needs to shine if they're going to start investing capital in it. Otherwise, you're going to get the same old that you've had for years. You're going to get a good enough water coaster. You're going to get like a good enough new area. You're going to get a good enough kids area. You know,
Yeah, good enough, but not the best.
right. So you got to get them excited about it. And again, I hate to bring up his name again, but the godfather of this stuff, Jeffrey Siebert, gets it. His park was semi-obscure. I forget 66 Fiesta Texas, and now he's like, "Oh, we're retheming this queue. We're adding theming elements. We're doing 3 nights of fireworks." You know, meanwhile, Kings Island's like, "We're not going to do this event. We're going to close earlier." You know, and they're getting all this stuff because he can rattle cages. He's got a good team behind him.
Yeah, and he is another guy that he wants to win.
Yeah. We're going to start a new segment called, well, we started it last time, but buy or sell. Don, why don't you read it this time?
Well, buy or sell, again, it's a concept that was inspired by me watching ESPN's Around the Horn. They always do this segment where there's a concept. Ryan just mentioned to buy or sell. And so we thought, hey, this could kind of translate to our topics. It could be interactive for our listeners. They can take part. They can send us the concepts, and we'll talk about something each and every episode. And for this one, Ryan, so again, Ryan, for you, are you buying or selling? The former playground from Forbidden Frontier at Cedar Point gets relocated to Kings Island as an expansion to Camp Snoopy. Again, are you buying or selling that?
Selling. And the reason why I'm selling is because that would have been a perfectly good idea to do for Camp Snoopy this year. That would have put a lot of the dominoes in place. It's sat standing but not operating at Cedar Point. The fact that nobody thought about this is kind of like malpractice, but I am selling. What about you?
I'm selling because you said it. Nobody thought about it, or it would already be there.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect case, and we even talked to somebody that's in that kind of aspect of the industry, theming stuff like that, and they were the one who brought it up first. So like, how did they not think of doing this? Like, even if they did, because my understanding is that the plan was to have something like that under the shelter in the amphitheater, got budget cut. I know we're not allowed to say that in some places, but it was budget cut. Budget cut's the word, the words. But it's, that was just sitting there, and they knew they weren't going to open that island, and they knew they weren't going to open it again. So the fact that they didn't at least bring some elements of it or something, I'm sure something could have been done. That was stupid. It was stupid that nobody thought of it. It's stupid that they didn't do it. And now that thing's probably going to end up in a dumpster.
Yep. It's unfortunate.
It is. Okay. Don, why don't you share a fun fact with me?
Well, a Kings Island fun fact would be, one of the best centers in the National Football League is Ryan Kelly. He's with the Indianapolis Colts. Why this is a Kings Island fun fact, at least for me, is his father, Mike Kelly. He was a member of the racer crew in the early 1980s, including when the park turned one side around and the trains were traveling in the backward direction. He was on that crew when that happened. So that's my fun fact is that, if you're watching the Indianapolis Colts play and, you see the center there, Ryan Kelly, his father was a part of racer history.
That's cool. All right. Very interesting fun fact. Now we'll be right back with the listener questions. All right. First listener question is from Regina S. from Mount Carmel. And Regina said, Don, I love your Kings Island stories. you're sharing on your Theme Parks by Dawn website. That's themeparksbydawn.com if you guys haven't been there yet. I've learned so much about the park thanks to your work. Honestly, your content is more engaging and interesting than what the park is putting out. You're undoubtedly helping them sell tickets and season passes, even if they don't recognize or appreciate what you're doing. Please know that many fans of this podcast do. That said, have you ever thought about turning fans of this pod? Have you ever thought about turning the Tower Topics episodes into stories on your website? You could recap what you discussed on the podcast and then link to the episode. Just a thought.
It's a good idea. We've done a couple of those. Tractions Group, when we were doing those, was integrated a couple of different times. I think the problem would be, though, that my blog is more industry wide. It's not just focused on Kings Island. So I think in that respect, trying to find the fit for it, if that's really something that those that subscribe to the blog, the website, as you called it, it wouldn't be hard to do, to do that. I think if it was more Kings Island based, I think it would be a no brainer to do that. After every episode, it's on there, and there's 2 or 3 paragraphs talking about what we talked about, and then you just watch the episode. We could do that. So I don't know. I mean, I'll give that some thought. I hadn't really looked at that as an opportunity to expand my blog, but I do like the idea of it. It's transcribing what we talk about or turning it into a story. I can definitely do that. I think it would help us get more viewers, Ryan, if I went that route. But I just I'd have to find where it fits, and is in doing that, because is there going to be people that subscribe to it? Are they not going to like that because that's not what they signed up for? That they were looking more for the industry stories and that. So I don't know, but I'll take a look at that. I think that's not a bad idea if I can make it work.
Well, it's one of those things where if you find an episode that's appropriate, maybe there's an opportunity there. But yeah, I agree. Like, you wouldn't want to make it like a rolling thing where it's like every blog is about an episode, because just watch the podcast at that point, or just read the blog at that point. But yeah, that's an interesting thought.
All right, the next one is from Carlton C., Wyoming, Ohio. He says, "You two are buffoons. This is the worst podcast I've ever heard. The only thing I can't decide is which one of you is the bigger tool. A podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans? More like a podcast by Kings Island rejects for Kings Island rejects, because that's exactly who you are and who you cater to. Move out of your parents' basement, get a job at Gold Star, and become productive members of society instead of wasting your time with this fiasco." Well, Carlton, the first thing, that comes to mind for me is, you said it's the worst podcast you've ever heard. Well, at least you've heard of us.
Well, first of all, thank you for listening. Second of all, you said it's the worst podcast you've ever heard. Well, at least he didn't say it's the worst podcast on earth, because as Kip from Napoleon Dynamite would say, like, Napoleon, there's like no way you could actually know that.
Yeah. I think in terms of who's the bigger tool, I don't know. I think it depends on what day of the week it is and what you and I are talking about.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like, I don't think they understand what tool means. Tool would be somebody that's like gets played all the time and stuff. So if we came on here and we were shilling like silver passes, like, that would be being a tool. But when we come on here speaking our minds, whether this dude likes it or not, that's the opposite of being a tool. But
yeah. Job
so
at Gold Star,
I'd work at Skyline for Gold Star, wouldn't
well,
you?
here's the problem
But
with
have you tried Gold Star's burgers though? Oh.
Yeah, they're really good. There's one I go by one when I go to visit my daughter. I mean, there's a Gold Star there when I go to watch her dog while she's and her husband are teaching during the day. So maybe once every couple of weeks I'll stop and get the burgers. I mean, they're really, really good. But the thing for me, I mean, you said get a job at Gold Star. I'm just going to be transparent here. I think I would struggle working at Gold Star. I think it'd be complicated for me to remember orders and that when people are coming through the drive-through and trying to get that all right and stuff. I just can't see myself being being good at Gold Star. It's almost like working, an antique cars ride. Not everyone's built to work antique cars. I mean, there actually is a skill to that. So I don't think I would last long at Gold Star, just because if they put me in the drive-through and stuff, I think that would be a fiasco, me at the drive-through.
Well, here's the thing. I think the curveball is the burgers. I honestly, Don, I think you can handle the conies,
I
the
can make the
three-ways, and the
food.
four-ways.
I can make the food, but if somebody's like, you come to the drive-through and they sound like the Charlie Brown teacher when they're trying to place their order, you don't quite. I mean, I don't know. I just no, I don't think I would be successful. And you used the word that the podcast is a fiasco. No, me working a drive-through at Gold Star would be a fiasco. Now,
Yeah, get your facts straight.
making the food, if they just said, here's what they want, make a three-way. Okay, I can do that. Put the burger on the grill. I can do that. But drive-through or, waiting a table and trying to make sure I get the order right and stuff. I don't know. I just don't think I'm built for that. I think I would struggle.
I think it's going to be the ultimate site of masochism if Carlton comes back and like has a retort to everything we say, because not only does it mean that it's the worst podcast he's ever heard, it means that he keeps on coming back to it.
Yeah,
but we appreciate
like at least he's heard of us, and we'll give him that. So Carlton, we appreciate your listenership. We appreciate your bluntness.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
So yeah, I mean, it's if you got a question, send it our way. We'll field it. Yes, people are finding out.
All right. Next listener question. Lucy May from Louisville. She said, what do you think the holdup is with releasing the 2025 operating calendar?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. One, they maybe don't have the park sellout contracts all in place.
Mm-hmm.
If they wanted to post past Labor Day, I think that could be one component of it. And the other thing could be that what everyone fears is there's a cutback in hours or days, and there's going to be a lot of backlash, and they're trying to avoid that for as long as possible. So I think it's one of those two scenarios.
Yeah. I hope it's the first one. I really do. All right.
Next one is from Riggs from Mount Healthy, Ohio. Just Riggs. He says, do you think there will come a day where Tower Topics is big enough to do what the Orlando Informer does with their events at Universal Orlando? And I guess that would mean you and I renting out the park for a night or something for a few hours. No, I don't think we could ever be as big as the Orlando Informer. And if you've ever done one of those events, you know how much fun and what kind of value that provides you. If you haven't done one, highly recommend that you do. But I don't know, Ryan. I'm not going to speak for you, but I don't know that we'd ever be able to have it to where, from 10:30 to midnight or something, Kings Island's yours, if you're part of this group or something. I just don't think we'd be able to get to that point.
I think that the problem at heart is that Orlando Informer people come from all over the country to go to that, because we're talking about Universal. For us, it's Kings Island, so it's regional. Do I think this podcast can become really, really, really big? I do. I really do. In fact, it's grown bigger than I kind of thought we'd be at this point. But there's always going to be kind of a glass ceiling to the fact that we are exclusively about, a regional theme park in Cincinnati. So I definitely could see us like an event at the park, like KIC Day, Coaster Style. Like I could see us getting together hundreds of people, but
Yeah.
it would take like 10, 12,000 people to justify renting out the park. And
no, we're not going to get there.
Yeah, I don't think, 10, 12,000 listeners. Yeah, easy. 10, 12,000 people willing to shell out. The Orlando Informer events are like $300. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we could do something one day where there's, a catered meal at the park or something that we all buy. We just go into Picnic Grove and we just go there and do something out there. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. But that's it for the listener questions. We appreciate those.
We should run credits at the end of the listener questions if you're going to end them like that. But I kind of like that. So Join us on Facebook. We got a new Tower Topics Facebook group. Just hop on there. There's only one question to join. It's, do you subscribe to Tower Topics? Just answer the question so we know that you're a real person. We'll let you right in. Come in there. We often source that for things like the buy or sell, the listener questions, stuff like that. And it's a free speech thing. So we're not going to, truncate you or anything like that if you have a bad experience, whether it's with us or with the park or whatever. But we'd love to see you on there. Very simple.
The only thing we won't tolerate is personal attacks against each other. Other stuff, though, again, it's free speech. I would tell you, with some of the content that we can provide on there, and some different things we want to do, that by Memorial Day, if you're a Kings Island fan, outside of listening to our podcast, that's going to be one of the places that you want to be. You want to be part of that Facebook group.
Don't screw it up. You're getting in on the ground level. T-shirts, Don. T-shirts.
Tower Topics T-shirts. Now listen carefully. For 2025, they come in a wicked green color. Wicked green. We tried it as a just kind of a special holiday themed T-shirt, but the response was very positive to them. I asked several people that had purchased it, do you like that or do you like the blue? They said they actually like the green. So for 2025, the blue, it may come back someday, but for 2025, the blue is temporarily retired. It just comes in this wicked green color, and you can get it for just $22. Comes in any size that you need. If you want one, just contact us. You can send me an email, theme parks, or Don Helbig at themeparksbydon.com, or you can message us through our X, which is Tower_Topics. You could even, on the comments, just say, I'm interested in one of the shirts. Can you reach out to me? And we'll send you the QR code once the purchase goes through. It's just a matter of day before you get your shirt in a wicked green.
And there's no better way to prove that you're a Kings Island reject than by wearing a wicked green
Tower Topics
T-shirt. Oh man, I enjoyed that. It's like so much hate in these people's lives. Like, God, I hope this person's like in their 20s, because they're so far ahead of where I am now, or what I was at the time when I was in my 20s, with the level of hate in their bones. I'm just glad we can draw out the pure emotions.
Well, the thing I'm looking at here, and this you said might be in their 20s. Their email comes from an AOL account.
Oh no, that's not good. That means they're just average at best.
I don't know. I mean, it's people like Carlton that keep AOL relevant, I guess.
We know they're not fake now, because they would have had a thought about that a long time ago to make an AOL email address.
Yeah, definitely on that. So it's I mean, some of the questions we get, though, I mean, we could do a full episode on just the ones that come in, that sometimes people just come across. We say the email address out there, and they send us stuff that has nothing whatsoever to do with Kings Island or the show. We've used some of them, on the show, but it's amazing what people will send you. When they, I think in some respect, when they know that you're never going to know who they really are. Other than you got their name, you got their email. You don't have their Facebook profile or anything like that to be able to look them up to know if they're, Kings Island fan or whatever. But we just get so. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to get the different, randoms. I think random's good. I think it adds to the podcast sometimes when we drop some of those in. So don't be afraid of random. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah, especially when it resorts to personal attacks. But hey, I'm Ryan Sir. The other Kings Island reject is Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.